button, by the way.
Hello and welcome to the Gooners podcast. You got to delay 5 seconds.
I don't have to delay anything.
You got
I'm
to delay
premature
5
most
seconds.
of the time.
If you wait 5 seconds with Mike, you've missed the sex.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's over at this point. I mean, this has been the Gooners podcast. Come on, you Gooners. Thank you very much.
Oh, man. Well, this is a very impromptu thing. I texted about half an hour ago saying, let's pod.
And we're potting, and we're breaking a duck.
We are.
2 ducks broken today. One was the duck of Gabriele Martinelli, and the other is the duck of John Martinelli, who's joining us from the lovely and talented Miami.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, John? Happy to have you on the podcast. Only 4 years too late, but
better late than never, right?
You may have seen John on a certain 24-year-old's podcast frequently over in London, who plays a lot of FIFA and doesn't listen while he's a guest on our podcast. But we won the game today, essentially because he didn't go to the game, and we're thrilled about that. So if you've seen John on the Gooner Talk, we now own him. He's on our podcast.
I did. I signed a contract and everything. It was a terrible choice.
We've stolen another person from Tom.
So, 5-0. We had a little game against Nottingham Forest today. We literally have no outline, so let's go ahead and just start with the lineup.
We're just going to say 5-0 for like 45 minutes and see what happens.
Yeah. So, biggest thing in the lineup was the return of Tierney and Holding.
Tom's in the chat listening.
Shut up.
The first time he ever watches our podcast when he's not on it would be the time that I'm talking shit about him. Shut up.
Leave that up the whole pod.
Yeah, well, yesterday's podcast, it was, what was that? Like, Mike, you're wrong or something like that, or you're an idiot or something. I'm like, we have these new things. We're just going to make that into the outline of the podcast so that it's like our new emblem.
Yeah.
Thunder Road, we know that ABW does their radio show right after the match. They are now our sworn enemies.
Yeah, I mean, look.
And they have Soph on tonight, too.
They may be the reason. Oh, they have Soph?
Yeah.
All right, let's screen share and we'll watch their podcast on our podcast, and then we'll comment on their podcast. We'll do like MST3K for those of you who know what that is about their podcast. We have to do that sometime. We love those guys. If you're watching them instead of us, you're on probation. Smart. You're not gone forever. Yeah. You're going to get a lot better content than you are out of us. But if you just want to watch me jerk off, then you're in the right place.
All right, gotta go, guys.
So, Mike, you've asked and you shall receive. Let's go ahead and screen share here and bring those beautiful bitches into our world.
If you can figure out how to do that, that would be hilarious. Although, will we get a copyright violation?
So we've got Danny, Jason, and
it's Davies and these are my favorite.
I love Danny. Danny's the man.
They're literally three of them. Okay, so
if you're listening to us, stop and go and listen to them.
Watch us for your pleasure, and then listen to them for your Arsenal content. But Soph could not be a bigger fan. Danny and Jace. I mean, that is a pretty good lineup.
I love me some Danny. I love me some Danny.
Fredo, you're still here. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing right now, but
fun fact about Danny,
we're absolutely going to start doing that.
Fun fact about Danny. He is a Miami Dolphins fan for some reason, and God bless him.
Yes, he is, and a Portland Timbers fan.
Yeah.
I believe.
I mean, I'm also a Dolphins fan. It's a rough life.
Oh, it's a hard knock life for sure. But yeah, Danny is responsible probably for the reason that we're still podcasting at this moment, and that may turn you against him. We may turn you against him, but yeah, we're not trying to compete. We could only hope to share listeners with them, but yeah, I think go listen to them because this is going to be a shit show today.
Yeah,
I was at the pub, and I'm not at the pub anymore. Yeah, no, we're about to get into the portion of the show where it becomes a shit show.
Well, let's
talk about Arsenal.
Let's jump in. So lineup, John, Tierney, Holding. Were you expecting to see one, both? I mean, you keep hearing like, they won't be back until October, but I mean, awesome to see them back.
Yeah, for sure. And, I mentioned it a little bit earlier that I was expecting to see them play at some point. I wasn't really expecting to see them start. So that was a real big plus for me. And I had a feeling that Holding would start just because I know that the most recent iterations of the team news said that he was available for selection. So I feel like this was a perfect match for him to start. But when I saw that with Martinelli up at top, and Ozil playing behind, I was going, this is going to be a fun game. Little did I know how fun it was actually going to be.
Mike, what were your first takes on Tierney? Seeing him play for I think he was 70 minutes, 75 minutes.
I mean, I was holding my breath that he wouldn't get hurt. I didn't, I said during the middle of the match, I'm like, I'm not paying full attention, but I haven't seen him do anything spectacular other than not do anything shitty. It was a great start for him. I mean, I did hear that he had a good cross. Again, I'm sitting there watching the game, but I was looking at my phone at the same time. This back four is going to make such a difference when they're healthy, when they're experienced together on the pitch during the biggest of competitions. It makes me feel bad again for judging our early season troubles because we're just not playing with the back four that we bought and that we should have. You get tired of making excuses and saying, okay, well, just wait until this happens, wait until that happens, and everything will be fine. Because ultimately, there's just another thing to say, wait until that happens. But Tierney coming back today, Bellerin, as I'm sure we'll get to with his assist. I mean, the impact that these guys are going to have offensively, but even more so defensively is. Today's one of those days where you're like, all right, stop bitching. The future is bright.
Mm-hmm. So it's 2 competitive matches for Tierney now in less than 10 days. I mean, I think he did an under 23 run out and then this. So is it too early for him to feature in a match like United? John, what do you think? Would you play him on Monday?
I mean, that's a very difficult question. I mean, there's one thing to play an under 23 Wolves match. There's another one to play a Carabao Cup match versus Nottingham. And then it's quite something different to play away at Old Trafford. So there is a concern in that regard, and I'm a little hesitant to just throw him into that fire, especially if it doesn't go very well. I feel like a lot of people would. I think we'd maybe be reasonable enough not to turn on him right away, but I know that there'd be a good. That's probably a little far fetched. I think that there's a good section of that, and there'll always be that. So that shouldn't be really a decision in the manager's mind. But at the same time, we really do want to ease him onto the side, especially a difficult game like this. Do I think he's skilled enough to start that game? Absolutely. I mean, I think that. It would certainly be a trial by fire in some respects. But if the manager thinks he's ready for it, then if we see his name on the team sheet, look, I would be happy for that. I just hope he would do well because
it's kind of a no-win situation.
Well, because the converse is I would say that there is a possible very big upside to that if he comes in and bosses it at Old Trafford. Yeah, if he comes in and bosses it at Old Trafford, then I mean that's a big statement, and considering we haven't won there in 80 years or whatever the stat is. So, look,
Herb Chapman would be rolling over in his grave.
Yeah, for sure. I think, the point is that, look, I think that it would be interesting to see him on the team sheet. I'm a little concerned though.
Yeah. I understand it's his force, but his confidence with making those runs down the side and his crosses today were just absolutely sublime, and he's certainly going to be our starting left back or wing back or whatever you want to call him immediately when he's fully healthy. And I think it could go either way, but I think that it's better probably just to allow. I mean, if you're playing like Brighton, maybe, but United away is just such a big game, and you just have to up your level. And I don't know, it'd be a tough call. Mike, let me ask you about Holding. Again, he's had a couple big matches, senior fixtures under his belt now. How do you integrate him back into the squad? Because he looked great today, but again, it's Forest. You don't want to overhype it, but we know how good the kid can be.
You integrate him back in by having him score a goal every game, like you did today. I mean, so far so good. I mean,
and he tore his ACL. He tore his ACL against United, so it would be a fitting comeback, wouldn't it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, let's hope there's not too much symmetry there, but. We were talking about it at the pub today. Again, shout out to Austin Gooners, good group. Holding has had 2 periods in his career where he has been exceptional. Right when he came in and right before he got hurt. And in between that, he looked like a, other than the FA Cup final, he looked like a kid who, was still learning. He was having that Wenger regression that we talked about. And so everybody's just kind of assuming he's going to come back at the peak level that he was at right before he got hurt and be our Tony Adams for the next 7 years. And I think we got to be a little wary and a little patient about that. But I mean, today I saw nothing to concern me. Again, if we could play against championship teams every week, we might actually win more often. But yeah, I mean, he's more equipped, I think, than Tierney to come in and make an immediate impact right now, an immediate upgrade on the position that we have, even though at left back it's so dire at this point that that Tierney would be a big jump up. But I mean, Holding, it's just so good to see these guys back. I mean, I haven't watched any of those U23 games to get too excited about, but to see them back for the senior squad in any game, just it's refreshing, and it kind of just gives you hope again. I mean, after a few weeks of being just giving up 31 shots, however many of those were on target, I don't give a hell. I really don't care.
Say it. Fuck.
I thought we were raising our game now, but
I don't give a hell.
I don't give a hell.
I don't give a hell.
I'm trying to be appropriate. I'm in Texas at the moment, but
that was beautiful.
But yeah, I mean, I don't give a hell about how fucking bad we've been. And so yeah, I mean, what was your question?
Well, it was really about Holding playing on Monday, and if you thought he was ready.
Can Holding play on Monday? Yeah, he can, because he's done it before. Yeah. I'm not so sure about Bellerin coming back from injury. I mean, I'm not saying he's any less experienced than Holding. I think yes. You not see Bellerin because he clearly, there wasn't 90 minutes in Bellerin today. So I would actually start Chambers, like Jacob is saying. I'd start Chambers. Mm-hmm. I'd start Chambers at right back.
The only place Chambers lacks right now is his speed, but it looks like the time away at Fulham has given him some spatial awareness, because he hasn't really. There's been moments where players have run at him or they've gone around him, and he's been able to cover with space where he lacks in that speed, and that goes to.
He's like Mertesacker with a little bit more speed.
Yeah, it's credit to him, because that's a huge part of your play when you lack that. Now let's go to the goals, because we saw this summer Martinelli look great in preseason, and granted it's preseason, he wanted to impress. That being said, we are looking at a player. Whenever I watch like the Carabao Cup, I always think to myself, Carlos Vela, where we got to see like this young, exciting, hyped player that just never did it for Arsenal.
I always think about Chamak.
Yeah, right. But with Martinelli, there's just something different about him. When he receives the ball, his he reminds me a little bit of Henry, where his head drops and he just wants to shoot. First goal was absolutely sublime. I mean, he actually, when they slowed it down, you could see him cut his sprint so he could align himself with the ball and get that header goal. I'm excited about this kid. John, what do you think? I mean, again, it's Forest, right? We can't get too excited, but for your debut at senior, I mean, he played tremendously.
Yeah, and I think you can get
John. Andy regularly gets excited about kids, so don't take that the wrong way.
So you won't say fuck, but you'll make a pedophile joke.
But I mean, that's how I play it.
Yeah. So to go to your question there, I think, and I tweeted it earlier about how sharp he looked multiple times, and you mentioned how good he looked once he was trying to shoot, but I think one thing that I haven't seen us talk as much with Martinelli so far is his first touch, which I think is absolutely amazing this game. And there is an element of truth to that statement that look, it is Nottingham Forest, and we don't want to get our hopes up, but like at the end of the day, we got to be happy about this. This is a youth prospect that we have here that we brought in and looks really, really, really promising. So I mean, if you're not getting excited about that, I mean, what exactly is there to be excited about? Bringing in a potentially awesome youth player here, and he definitely looks like he's got shades of something great in him. Now the question is, can he translate that to the first team? Can he keep it going? Is it going to be something that wanes off? I feel like we have a little bit of, as Arsenal fans, post-traumatic stress when it comes to these young players and putting too much faith in them too early, because we've been burned in the past. It's like a bad relationship. So
totally.
Martinelli has done nothing to tell me that he isn't just Prime's Kun Aguero at this point.
Sure. Yeah. There's two. I guess there's
every
two
similarity between the
It's
two.
a spectrum. You have on the one side, you have the let's just completely be pessimistic about it, and the next side, he's Aguero. So I think somewhere in the middle of that though is where you kind of look at what has happened in the past with these young players that we brought in Arsenal and how concerned we are about overhyping a young player. But I feel there's a little bit different with some of these young players now. You look at players like Guendouzi, even I know he didn't play tonight, and you look at players like Saka and Martinelli. There's a little bit of swagger that we just have not seen in Arsenal youth players in a long time. We saw a little bit with Iwobi, but I think that there was a problem with that regard. The problem with that was that I think he was just dragged in too early, only as a response to injuries on the side, and I think that he was kind of stifled in that regard. There was a lot of pressure building up on the team at that moment. So it's really exciting. I think Martinelli is a really exciting player, and I'm really hoping that he can extend that good form that he has and be that player that I kind of hope he could be.
Yeah, and there was a piece a few weeks ago, I think Leith may have written it, about Martinelli and how this summer he was brought into the Brazilian Copa America squad, not necessarily to break into the squad, but he was brought in with the idea of, hey, affiliated and integrated into this amazing squad, and we just want you to get used to being in these surroundings, right? And so there's a lot of buzz coming out of Brazil, and they said in the match today that he had a couple trials at United and they just never went anywhere. And so I'm really happy that he's landed on our doorstep because he looks like he can be a hell of a player. And I don't think that you get the opportunity to jump into the Copa America squad for Brazil with all that talent if there aren't a lot of eyes looking at you saying, hey, this is a kid for the future.
Mike. I am sorry that Martinelli did not cost 50 million pounds. I think we're going to be hearing about that soon.
So he gets us off the mark with the first goal. And then obviously he finishes the match with that just absolute sublime curler from 20 yards out. Let's just stay there because we're on him. Mike, what was your I just had to smile when he hit that. It was just absolutely perfection.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen a ton of just blinders. I mean, when we score goals, they're usually more about the lead up than they are about the finish. And this one was, all finish. And to the point where it was one of those where none of us really reacted to it until we saw the net ripple, because it was just, we almost thought that it was going to go wide because a lot of our shots go wide. The guy plays well above his age. He's literally one of the best strikers in the world at this point, and we haven't. The game was over at that point. There really wasn't that much pressure on him, so he could afford to take a shot like that. There's something special about him. I don't want to keep rehashing what we've talked about because his first goal was good awareness. His second goal was good awareness. I think there was a deflection to it, maybe, but I don't care. We have a guy that we're going to have to figure out how to get some minutes, and he's not going to get minutes over Lacazette when he's healthy. He's not going to get minutes over Aubameyang, but we have 70 games a year, 50, 60, 70 games a year, and there's no way that guy's going on loan. And that guy's going to keep Eddie Nketiah out of a job. I'm telling you that.
Well, I'm not sure about that because Nketiah is scoring a lot, and Martinelli, if he goes out to the left, it just adds depth. And
let's put it this way: when Aubameyang and Lacazette get older and start falling off the pace just a little bit, I don't know that we need to dip another 85 million into another striker because I think the future is strong there.
So we went them probably 60 minutes without scoring a goal. We were never under threat. We were just outperforming them. I think Martinez had to make one save, which came when we were 3-0 up. But Ozil's first performance or start for a very long time, there's been a lot of debate as how he played. For me personally, I thought he was okay. I thought he transitioned well from defense to offense.
You said in the chat.
Well, I'm saying exactly what I said in the chat. I thought he played okay. I don't think he was a bystander or a pedestrian.
You said he was a Ballon d'Or winner today.
John, what were your thoughts on Ozil's performance for the 60, 65-minute run-up that he had?
I thought he had a great performance in the first half, and then even into the second half. I think that once he was, there's questions. People will talk about why he was taken off, and I think there could be a lot of reasons for that. And I think we've already seen there's kind of a weird dynamic between him and Emery. But what I don't think can be disputed is that he put in a shift. Sure, I think he was a little bit slow off the ball, but I think that his passing was very, very concise, and I think that he was really pulling the strings, especially in the first half. So I think he had a good performance. I think that there was something to be said about the fact that we looked a little bit more, I don't want to say dynamic, but definitely a little bit more aggressive after he went off. I think part of that, however, is just because I think once a manager takes off a player like Ozil when you're up already in a game like that at home, I feel like that's a psychological move to kind of.
What was the score when he came out?
I think it was 2-0, right?
What was the score when the game ended?
Well, look, I mean, no, but there's and Jess, but the reality is that there's something to that possibly, and we did look very, very, very dangerous when he went off. But I'm a
Breaking news from Bob Checkerbody. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, go for it.
I mean, we have to talk about Oreo ice cream sandwiches here. So, no, sorry.
Yeah, I feel like okay, he's gobbling him down. That's great. Good job there.
The Belanda Oreo.
Oreo ice cream sandwich. I didn't even know they made that, so I'm gonna go check that out next time I get a chance. I don't even remember what I was talking about now. Ozil, yeah.
I have a question about Ozil. A serious one. What do you think his mindset is at the moment? Okay, let's look at the last.
It's a good question.
8 to 10 days. Rested against Frankfurt for a game where he was a unused sub against Villa, and then made captain for a game that's notably less important than either one of those two games. Pulled off in the 60-something minute. That's like the Lilith fair. I mean, he didn't look too happy when he was pulled off, and it's almost just like I'm being used in the most insulting of ways. If you're him, where's your mind at this point, John? I mean, I was trying to figure out his look when he came off. He didn't look thrilled, but they were winning the game. Mm-hmm. It was almost just going through the motions is what it felt like to me.
I think there was an aspect of that, and like I said, I prefaced my comment by saying that there is a weird dynamic between him and Emery. I think there's a little bit of a tension between the two of them. I'm not going to begin to try to assume what that means. I would guess it has something to do with maybe Emery not seeing him in his plans in terms of a tactical standpoint. Whether you agree with that is a different story, but I think that there's definitely some kind of a friction between the two of them, and it might have to do with wages as well. So that's all speculation, though. The reality is, I agree with you. I think that it definitely looked like there was some kind of almost a nonchalance walking off the pitch like that, and we've kind of seen that from him before. This isn't the first time we've seen it from Ozil. So I'm a big fan of Ozil. I think that there's some concerns over him now. I know he's getting a little bit older, and it's clear that he might not have that foot in the door in the first team right now. It's starting to look like perhaps Emery sees him as a kind of a sub or a squad player, which is a little bit weird considering he was one of our talismanic goal chance creators for how many years. So it's a little bit interesting to see what's happening there. At the end of the day, I'm going to give the manager the benefit of the doubt with respect to that. I've kind of given up on trying to fight why Ozil should be in this team. So instead of going through that, I could say I agree with you. I think that he definitely looked a little bit let down that he was taken off too early. And it was concerning, as you said, that we were told that he was being rested after Europa League, and we didn't even see him against Aston Villa, which is not, a big game. You know what I mean? So why was he being rested? So it's a very interesting question, and hopefully there's some kind of clarity and nothing too, problematic going on behind the scenes.
I don't know if it's. I mean, I don't see anything with Ozil as being problematic. I just see him being that player that Unai doesn't trust in certain situations, tactically, physically, and I think he's just riding his time before he can come and join you down in Miami. To be that.
No, he's coming to me.
No,
he's literally going to be either.
Hell no, he's coming to Miami.
You got David Silva already. We're going to get Mesut, and then Mesut will play one out of every 5 games.
I'll take both, and then he'll come off the bench, against who knows, some youth college team or something.
So with Ozil taking or being substituted, he took the armband off and gave it to Rob Holding, who briefly discussed his return with what was a sublime goal, beautiful header. Mike, we had a conversation on a couple days ago about who the next captain of the club would be, and we both said, hey, Holding's probably right there in the future. Obviously, tonight with him being named the assistant captain, kind of great. Not only was it great to see him back in an Arsenal shirt, it was also great to see him score a goal. And I'm really, really excited that we're adding this depth back into the squad. But also, I think that his future leadership too, it's just going to be tremendous.
Mike.
Yeah, who were you asking that?
You're right there, bud. He was asking.
Oh, right. Yeah, because my internet just went. The internet went shit at the end.
Sure, it was the internet.
Holding.
El Diddy.
Yeah, it was the internet. The internet just gave me 2 beers. Yeah.
What is happening?
We're talking about Holding. He's definitely. I've been promoting an agenda the last few days about Guendouzi being a guy who might be ready to be captain, and 100%. I know that's premature, but I think it's also premature to name Rob Holding captain because, I mean, how many games has he been out there doing it? If he could remain healthy and anchor our defense he's anybody but Granit Xhaka at this point. That's all I'm going to say. And that was an expert answer to your question.
He stepped back and thought about it.
Is Rob Holding ready to be captain? Yeah. Vice captain. Yeah.
John, what do you think?
Captain.
Do I think he's ready to be captain? I think that
my computer's basically shut down.
I think there's something to be said about him being able to come back from an injury like that, depending on his performance. I think that he can certainly put himself into the conversation. I think that there's just not enough of a data set at the moment to determine with any kind of confidence whether he should be taking the captain's armband. I think that, the fact that he was given it today and, he put in an excellent performance. I think that's a good start, and it's certainly promising. I think that he's one of those players that a lot of the fans like, and he seems to do his job, and at least recently since he's been playing. So really it just comes down to whether he can put some good performances in. Let's just put it this way. If he can come back from that injury, we lost Mike. I
told him to jump on with his phone.
That's fine. Yeah. Okay. What I was saying was if he can come back from that injury and he could come back into the side and shore up this defense, and I know that's asking a lot of him. He's a young player, and that doesn't always go. It fails more often than not. But if he can pull that off, there is a strong argument for why he should be a captain. Because right now, I think most of us would agree that besides some areas in the midfield, our biggest concern right now is just the fact that we're leaking goals and shots on goal. So if he can come in here and fix that one way or another, and I'm not saying he's going to come in here and do that, but if he can come in here and do that, I think that there's a good shout for him in that regard.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, it's so important that we toe the line with these guys and we give them the right amount of time to return. We all know how good Rob Holding can be. We all know how good Bellerin can be. If reports out of Scotland are anything accurate, Tierney is going to be a huge success for us. It's just, how do we bring each of these guys back slowly into the fold? I think Monday, again, with the opponent, where the match is, both teams really needing 3 points. I just think it's going to be too much, but absolutely tremendous to see these players come back, and specifically Holding, and to get a goal was absolutely tremendous. Let's jump to Nelson. So we see him score towards the end of the match, and this seems to be one of those type of players where, in 6 months from now, you could see him get loaned or sold, and you'd say, okay, maybe. But you also see glimpses where you're like, damn, when he gets the ball, he can sometimes do things, and he also does some things really poorly. Goals got to be a big confidence booster for him, right? I mean,
yeah.
Ultimately, we want to see him do well. We're Arsenal supporters, but what was your take on his match today?
So I thought he kind of had a hit or miss match today. I think that when you're looking at how well some of the other players were shining, I think that while he did good, I don't think he was as bright. And yes, he got that great goal, and that was good for propels his confidence going forward. But I feel like there was too many times in that match where he kind of it was hard to say that he didn't do well, just because I think it was only in contrast to how well some of the other players were doing. When you look at players like how Martinelli was playing, how Chambers was playing, and Tierney were playing, I think that him coming on and playing the way he did was a little underwhelming for me. Now, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head, though. I think a goal is one of the best things to boost a player's confidence, especially a younger player like that. And it was an overall good atmosphere. So I think that that's going to help him going forward, and I'm hoping that's going to help him going forward. The problem I have with Nelson is not his skill. I'm a little concerned, and I don't know if it's out of his system yet, with his attitude a little bit. And I'm not just saying that in a vacuum. I mean, there were reports early on when he was in Germany that there was maybe a little bit of an issue with him and the manager there, and that's why it wasn't really getting on there. Now, I don't know if that's still an issue, but we haven't seen him starting as much as I think a lot of us thought he might have been this season, given the fact that we kind of need help over there, especially when Lacazette got injured, and we might want to see Aubameyang shift a little bit more centrally. So I think that might be out of his system. I'm not sure. I guess time will tell. But he's definitely an exciting player, and I think that he's a very talented player. The question is whether he can just kind of turn it on and get out of his own head.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Mike, what were your thoughts on Nelson's performance today, specifically getting that goal with confidence booster?
Yep. Sorry, let me unmute myself. He needed that really, really badly, but I don't know that he's all the way back. I mean, like John was saying, there's something just a little bit off with him. All the talent in the world, didn't necessarily actualize it at Hoffenheim. We have to get Drew on to confirm that for us, but he's almost there. But I saw somebody talking about on Twitter about how Freddie Ljungberg was working with Joe Willock, and how Willock had just really taken to his coaching and his encouragement, and how he carried him through the U23 team now on to having finally made the first team for Arsenal, and they're saying why didn't someone answered, why didn't that work for Nelson, or blah blah blah, and I'm like, it's because it doesn't work for everybody. Maybe some people just take coaching a little bit better, they take the change of environment a little bit better. Reiss Nelson is like almost there, but I don't know what's missing from him to make him a complete player. It just doesn't seem that he has a pathway to being a starter, and Willock, it seems that he does.
Would you send him out on loan again then, if you're saying he's not yet ready?
That's a tough one, because once you send them out on loan that many times, it's almost like the Serge Gnabry situation where it's like you're making it pretty clear they're not going to ever be on the first team.
I think sorry to interrupt you. I think it's I think it's premature to send him on loan. I think that he still has a place in the squad.
I mean, we have until January to decide that anyway.
Well, yeah, and there's certainly a conceivable universe where Reiss is starting for this team. Now, whether that actualizes is a different story, but there's definitely a
that universe is after we sell him for $4 million and buy him back for $50, like Daniel Malin.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, whatever helps us out the most. But there is definitely a non-zero chance and a clear path that he could actually make it onto the side and be in. I mean, look, he had 23 appearances for Hoffenheim, 7 goals, 1 assist, something like that. He definitely put in a shift over there, and I think that it was a very promising loan spell. I mean, it was kind of early on. I was going to say his time at Hoffenheim was a little bit of a microcosm. This game was kind of a microcosm of his time at Hoffenheim. A little off and on performances and some great moments. So I think time's going to tell with a player like Nelson. I don't think all the chips are on the table yet with him.
No,
it shows how much quality he has, but you can't. I mean, a team like Arsenal cannot promote somebody into being a regular on the first team who is good some of the time.
Right.
You have to be good all the time, and he's not there yet. And Willock may be, just to give it a contrast.
Yeah, and a player that has been good all the time, or every match that we've seen him play this season, has been Callum Chambers. Came out of preseason really well, went into the first 2 matches starting, brought on last week, at the weekend as a substitute, played very well. Tonight got 2 assists, not only played right back, went over and covered left back as well. I mean, I made the joke last week. How
forward was he playing today? I mean, he was like he's our new Pepe, I think. I mean, he was the furthest guy forward so frequently, and it didn't scare me for some reason.
No, to me he had.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no.
Chambers was a revelation today.
Yeah, to me he was man of the match. I don't know if you guys would disagree or agree with that, but
I think I posted the same thing.
Yeah, I thought he was flawless with how he played, and for me,
let me hurry up and post the same thing so I can be just like you guys.
Do it. Look. 3 assists, 5 interceptions, 4 tackles, 93% pass accuracy.
We got a good guest here.
3 key passes. I mean so three out of the 5 assists were from him, a defender.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he had a spectacular match. Any way you cut it, I don't care. Nottingham, whatever. And I don't think he's put a foot wrong since he's been back at the club.
No, and I completely
agree. He put 1 foot wrong against Villa, but that was just 1 foot, though.
Well, I mean, we
just tweeted it, so now I'm just like you guys.
You're just like us. All right, what I mean, okay, so he put a foot wrong. All right, fine. But my point is that, more often than not, he's been an excellent player for us since he came back. I don't know if that's going to be continuing on going forward, but right now, like Andy was saying, it's definitely looking good.
Yeah, 100%. And we have added Brandon to our podcast, who's supposed to do illustrations for man of the matches. And essentially, when we emailed him, text him very last minute to ask if he'd come on today, he said no. So his commitment level is absolute bullshit. And
man, call the guy.
I mean, you expect a guy who's self-employed to be able to just hop on any time, but come on, man.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
he's been the man of the match for our last 8 casts.
He has, but no,
on our social media.
I joke, but no, for me, Chambers has to start on Monday. I mean, we do.
Why did you even bring that up though? Like, I thought you were going to bring that up because he does illustrations of the match, but then you just didn't even go there.
No, I did. I said it, and then
I was waiting for some like commentary on Chambers, and all of
you just threw him under the bus for no reason.
Because I said the same thing to him in text message that he wasn't committed to us, and
so you just wanted to memorialize that in public.
Didn't you say he was already on 2 strikes? So this is the 3rd.
You said that. Yes, B is Brandon Thunder Road. Brandon, Arsenal illustrator. B, guy who Danny said looks like Andy and I killed.
I'll finish that. Danny, the GFP, said that we kidnapped him.
Our son.
Yeah, our love child.
That's it.
God, what is happening with Mike's internet?
Mike, buddy.
Yeah, Jesus.
Get your shit together.
Really, he needs to get his shit together. Hey, Brandon, I take everything back I said about you, and I meant to say Mike. Right. Anyway, so, John.
Next.
Chambers, Monday, has to play, right? Has to play somewhere.
I think so. I mean, especially with Maitland-Niles, I don't know what his injury situation is, but I think I'll tell you what, Maitland-Niles has not been impressive these last couple matches that he's been playing, and I think the red card was a little unfair, but it wasn't the red card that's causing me to form that conclusion. It was a lot of other stuff that he did that was just not very good. I don't know whether it's a mental thing, whether he sees Bellerin chasing down his throat. Now he sees Chambers doing the same, and he just can't handle it. I'm not going to speculate to that, but I think that's a possibility. And look, it's a lot of pressure on him, and he is a young player, and I think he had an okay season last season. He filled in when we needed him to, but with all these first team players coming back, I'm assuming the pressure is building on him, and I'm not sure if that's what we're seeing from him. But Chambers has seemed to embrace that in the last couple of matches. Whether we're going to live to regret that by throwing him at Old Trafford might be a different story, but I definitely think he's thrown himself in the conversation. Yeah, absolutely.
Mike, are you back with us, or are you still pretending your internet's broken?
Gunnar Taj says Mike's internet connection has commitment issues.
Oh, Mike's so old, he's still on dial-up.
He has to sign in his AOL.com to get the link.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, the internet. God, we could just make jokes all day. Should we just end the pod and then Mike signs back in? Like, what the hell happened? Any other things we missed about the match?
So I thought that one thing that we didn't talk about Tierney too much. I thought he had a great game.
Yes, he did.
We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I mean, one thing I noticed about him, and I noticed it because I watched the Wolves match, he has really, really I don't know if this is what he does all the time, but he's very, very smart in terms of when he decides to go forward, when he decides to challenge for the ball, or when he decides to just sit back. And I don't know if that was, I thought it was him being hesitant, but he kept doing it. And I thought it was really, really interesting because usually it's like all or nothing. You have Kolasinac, he's either bombing forward or he's running back trying to stop something. There isn't that like, hesitance, reading the play, figuring out what the best thing to do is. And I don't know if I'm reading too much into that, but I definitely saw shades of him doing that in this match. If he could do that, I think that's really important because I think that a little bit of like football intelligence has been lacking on that left-hand side. And that's not a dig at Kolasinac, and you can have whatever opinion you want of him. I think especially defensively, he finds himself in situations where he's just constantly bombing forward because I think that's his greatest asset is his strength going forward and ability to pull back the ball into the box. So I don't blame him for that, but it does leave us open on the counterattack. And then when you already have a shaking defense and a midfield that's not really ready to break up play very well, it causes problems. But I really like that aspect of Tierney's game. He was very calm and composed. Nothing seemed to faze him. Not that at home against Nottingham would really phase you that much, but he had some excellent plays, especially in that first half when he was just beating players, getting in excellent crosses. I mean, there were a couple chances that should have been taken a lot better from him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just looking at the youngsters in this team, but how old is Tierney?
He's young. I think he's, let's see, hold on. I don't want to speak that wrong.
While you're looking that up,
Yeah.
While
he's 22.
22, which, in football terms is so young. I mean, there's something that you can say about a player who gets forward like he did. And there were just moments where he left so much space behind him when the ball was either on the opposite side of the field or he was making runs because he has confidence that he can get back. And you don't see that enough with young players. There's just something about him, his swagger when he joined us, from everything I heard about his time at Celtic, and then just getting to see him to play today. He was tremendous. And again, it's Forest, we get that, but you can only perform against the team in front of you. And if that's kind of what he's building his levels on and getting his fitness back, we're going to have, with Bellerin on the other side and him, we're going to have something very dangerous. And you hate to say like, oh, we're going to compete with City and Liverpool, but they rely so much on their wingbacks. And you see that with Tottenham too, right? And now we're looking at it where we go, damn, if these guys stay healthy, they could be dangerous.
Right. And I think I would not be surprised if we saw a little bit of him being held back. It's going to be really interesting in the sense that, it is Nottingham. It is at home. He is coming back from an injury. He doesn't want to push himself too hard. But there were shades of some very interesting stuff going on that left-hand side. So I would really, it's exciting to see what he's going to be able to bring. And hopefully that materializes, but I have a feeling it will. I do have a feeling it's going to materialize. And I've said it before that, Emery's system, if there is, what the hell is going on here? If there is a tactic that Emery has, it involves something along the lines of playing from the back and really utilizes the wing backs. I think a lot, especially when Lacazette comes back, I think a big problem that we have is that there's too many situations where Aubameyang can kind of maybe be on the sidelines in a game because, he needs to occupy that left-hand side. I've said if we can get someone on that left who can carry the ball well and put in some dangerous passes into the box, it would allow Aubameyang and Lacazette, our two most prolific scorers right now, to occupy the box at the same time, which in my opinion is going to be something very, very helpful for us, especially when it comes to scoring goals.
Mike, are you with us?
No.
No, the answer is no.
That is a profound and emphatic no.
Are you muted?
That's a yes. And
here's the one thing I love about Mike: is the moment anything technical happens, it's like Chernobyl. He melts down.
What is happening here?
He just melts down and he doesn't know what to do. Mike, unmute yourself.
You need to develop some healthy coping mechanisms. Nope. Son of a bitch! I heard that one.
Maybe unplug the headphones and replug them back in.
Why don't we just guess what he's trying to say?
I think he's saying, Andy, I'm so sorry that your back hurts from carrying this pod for so long.
Yeah, that's what it
Can't
was.
even hear.
Oh, he's not even listening.
Mike, how would you rate Tierney with your fingers out of 10? You can't even point to the camera correctly. Oh, this is an absolute. This would never happen under Tom Canton's watch. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh boy, that was below the belt for him.
Anything else we missed today, boys? Any other talking points that you want to go over?
No, just that I really, really hope that we could put it in a performance against United now after this, because
Absolutely.
and we could talk about that for a couple hours and we don't have to get into that. But after all this, it was a really joyous kind of day. It was a lot of fun. It kind of made you remember what it is to be an Arsenal fan, like watching these youth players come and succeed, and it was just a real fun game. And I don't remember the last time I had that much fun watching an Arsenal game.
No, it was a lot of fun to watch this, just sit back and enjoy it. And what made it even a sweeter day is the fact that Tottenham lost to was it
Colchester United?
Colchester United
and Stoke.
And someone sent over a picture that said the most defeats by Premier League clubs in 2019. Tottenham are atop the list with 15, Brighton with 14, Watford with 13, Bournemouth with 12.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a couple minutes. Let's quickly talk about them. So they walk into this new stadium, great. They have this wage bill that is really structured on performance, which fair play to them. They've got some good players. They've done whatever they need to do to get those in the door. But now they're starting to have players who are getting touted by other clubs, more money guaranteed. I mean, it's great to see them just shitting the bed.
Oh, it always is. And it's one of those things that you can almost bet on.
John, you with us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You broke up for a second,
Hello?
but you're back.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, I was saying
This is such a great podcast.
We're doing great, guys. I was just looking. I just saw that. Yeah, because Stoke also got knocked out, by the way. So it was another awful team that's out of the competition. But yeah,
this is what Art's blog was like in his fourth season as well.
Well, stop interrupting people.
I think it was great. I think it's great.
I don't know whether I'm interrupting people.
John, go to your point and just ignore Mike.
I'm working on it. He's so jovial.
I've manually muted.
There you go. So,
I'm taking a picture.
Going back to what your point. Yeah, I think whenever Spurs are capitulating, I mean, I'm happy. So the worse it gets for them, the better it is for us. So and look, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. They're a rival. So tough. The more you guys suck, the better it is. And they don't disappoint. I cannot think of another team that does not disappoint as to how often they just completely screw everything up. And it's so hilarious because they're always on the edge of being really good, and they got this good team, this young manager, and this, you know what I mean. And it's this. They play some exciting football sometimes, but they just have this almost comical, mystical, universal ability to just completely f it up. And it's always present, and it's in their DNA. And I love every second of it because you always know that they can completely screw it up at any given moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Mike, what do you think?
He agrees.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah.
So when you do have internet,
well, can you hear me now? I don't know if you can hear me, see me. I don't know if I look better or worse.
Stop being a whiny little bitch. Just what are your thoughts on Tottenham just absolutely shitting the bed?
I think it's funny, and I'm sure there's an interview that's been given about how they don't care about the Carabao Cup, and they only care about big trophies that they also don't win. But they're muggy. They're headed downhill. They're headed towards their austerity period. I mean, all signs are that club is going to implode in the next 2 or 3 years, and I couldn't be happier about it. Fuck those guys. I actually tried to be friendly with the local Spurs supporters club today, and it didn't work out very well.
And the funniest part is we're talking about a team that literally just made it to the final of the Champions League. That's the greatest part about this. this is them. This is them.
How scary was that, John?
Oh, I'll never forget it. So I literally had just come back from Eastern Europe. So I was on vacation, and I had just arrived through customs, and they had the game on right as you come through customs in the Miami International Airport. And I was literally standing there, like screaming at this, like and like all the TSA agents were like coming and like looking at who's this bearded guy yelling at me, or you know what I mean. So like it was causing a scene, and it was great. I enjoyed every second of it. It was awesome.
Well, I think that the days of them making it to a championship.
I mean, look, it's little victories.
God damn it.
We're on like a 5-second delay. This is everything that you'd expect out of an impromptu podcast from a hotel at this point.
Hey, John,
I'm just going to sign off because my internet is so shit right now.
Why don't we all sign off? John,
yes.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
You were an absolute professional having to deal with the shitty internets and what have you, and me not wanting to be on camera. Michael, I hope that you go back to your conference.
We know you got a nose job.
Michael,
I can't go back to my conference at this point. I'm hammered.
And that doesn't stop you from podcasting.
Yeah, well, podcasting doesn't pay my bills.
John, where can people find you if they need to find you? Do you want to promote anything?
No. I want to. Are you guys still doing your the charity thing?
Yeah, Mike, you want to wrap that up because we're it's done, right?
See, look at me. I'm trying to promote you guys,
and
here.
I'm sure. Yeah, that was awesome. And I'm sure I'm like 10 seconds late because of this internet thing, but I'm going to put out a video in the next week or so that talks about the finish of Gooners versus Cancer, because we're done now and we're just tallying up the numbers, and it was just amazing. So I don't want to really kind of go into it too much until I'm ready to go into all of it. But next week we'll probably talk about how it ended up. A success beyond what I possibly could have imagined, and so many people to thank, and I'll be getting to those people next week.
Awesome. Well,
done what you can to help promote it, because Gooners versus Cancer is not going away anytime soon.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun and really, really rewarding. So thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great thing that you guys are doing there. So, but yeah, if they want to find me, I'm on Twitter at 305cast. I haven't done my podcast in a while, but I keep saying I'm going to get back to it. And it's just like one of those things I just never get around to. But I'm also on Tom's podcast, the Gooner Talk, every once in a while with you guys. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Mike. It's always a pleasure. He's already gone. He just gave up. John, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll sign off as Mike usually does. Come on, you Gooners.